It's almost 7 a.m. I have questions. This morning I'm reviving a wig, so we might as well have a chit chat while I have to go at it. See, instead of being idle, I can't go out and make my first money transactions, my better money transactions at the moment. Yesterday I was advised that I was being detained so that I can get back into accounting or nursing. I was just thinking about it that I think I would actually go back into theatre nursing instead. I think I would be more useful there, and given the situation where the doctor last night actually identifies that you're actually a modern slavery victim, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to be going into a situation where I'm going back to work in the community where criminals can actually mobilize the community to be trying to come towards me. Even my clinic can be full of people who are supporting a criminal just because they're from an Asian culture or they're Eastern European. As I talked to the doctors yesterday, the people I had trouble with last time, and then I had to explain, as you have to do, I have to explain why you made decisions and stuff as a nurse, and I did. So I'm still a registered nurse, but at some point they refused to take my money to pay for my registration. So they returned my money, and then I just thought, okay, keep your head down. Explain what you need to explain about what happened at the last surgery. And then I actually got an opportunity to work again, but they kept inviting me and stuff. I'm not struck off or anything. It's just that I kept my head down because after a few repetitions of the clinics changing, it can be a bit of an issue. Still in view. Alright, so just reviving my wig here. I have not got my products, unfortunately, so it's taking a long time. Making lemonade out of lemons. The lemons dealt with. So, not really using water. The water here, it pours out like in a very uncontrollable way for what I want to do. If I was in my own place, I could have been using my spray bottles and just being a bit more gentler on this wig because it's not very. They can shed, right? The wigs, they can shed so badly, and so it would be better to handle it with care, and it takes time. I would have been working on my cash apps too, and my Bitcoin apps. As slow as it may be, with my algorithms changing and all that, I would still be working on it. At least the apps accumulate. No one's just going to be like donating to you 50p in a day, or it's different. I guess if you're basking in that, I don't have a license to bask, so I wouldn't be doing that. Plus, it would be better if you have an instrument player or something. Not really my thing. I have my way of the way that I've been transacting. And yesterday I missed 2 appointments. Someone was going to come to my flat to bring me some money. We did exchange some merch, but they decided that they were going to give me some money anyway. So they were trying to sell something for me. And also just a well-wisher, who we just bumped into, had a chat, and they decided, okay, let me try and do this for you. I had tried to sell for them, but it didn't really work out. Prejudice and stuff. Unfortunately, the stigma of people thinking that going along with a criminal, when a criminal starts trying to deal the cards that they're expecting to be dealt, a criminal record, an arrest, a mental health assessment, I think it's really bad that a criminal can be such a manipulator, to be able to have access to call mental health teams on you or police on you with false concerns, I'll actually be suing these people. Because this person has been lying for the longest time that he's got some sort of affiliation with me, having intimidated me in 2024, using medical device technology to be attacking me. So it's not that obvious. And I mean, there's also cases of, in 2024, there was a publishing of a woman who was sexually assaulted, but she was living alone. That sort of technology can be used for things like that. But what I actually realized about my case is that these guys are actively trying muscle degeneration, bone degeneration, organ degeneration from the way that they use this technology. I last heard, when these criminals don't make me bleed, so they use laser. It's possible they have access to the magnetic resonance imaging, diathermy. And the reason why I know that they have access to technology that is theater related is because of the way they can prompt someone's abdomen and force air out of someone's abdomen, out of the, like intestine, rectum area. That's harmful. To be able to inflict pain, to force air through someone's body. When someone is in surgery, they're under anesthesia so that they don't feel the whole air induction thing going on. But when it's coming out, I had open surgery, major surgery, might I add, in 2020, so it's not long ago, it's about 5 years. It can be very, 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 very painful when air is coming out of your abdomen after a surgery. At some point it reduces to discomfort, but it would be so painful because your cavities have just been invaded by extra air. Obviously, for surgery, it will be aiding the doctors to be able to see through your abdomen to see what's happening. So I was thinking about it, that where would I actually prefer to go if ever I had to get back into nursing, if I was ever forced. Because what I didn't tell the doctors is that I already had a job offer with a company abroad. Because in the moment, you can't think of all the answers when they're asking you. Because there were 3 of them, panel of 3, they were all asking me questions. It took me a very long time to bring out the discharge letter. By the time I had it, the lady was saying, we already have it. They didn't want to see it. The discharge letter is already on my YouTube channel. But only when I was here, at the end of the day, I went back I actually searched for the actual email that sent that discharge letter to begin with. And then I realized, actually, I didn't have to go to the GP to ask. Well, maybe the GP, yes, because he wasn't copied into the email. But what I realized is that I didn't need to ask the nurse in the community to give me a discharge letter. I had it already, and she was copied into it. And so was the rest of the borough. The community already knew. The information was already on the database. So this nurse has not been very good to her colleagues. She has brought them into a kind of a disrepute situation with the case of questioning whether I'm sane or not, and yet I live next door to the criminals who are constantly filming to a live audience, and they interact with the live audience. So it's not just like the caption that they read about when these guys then use the AI to chat GPT, and expose what they want to say or their plans. These guys interact with the audience and they nominate who in the audience is going to do what. So it turns out they've intimidated some of the key players who participate. And then they've got younger kids involved who think it's fun. Because there have been some adults who perhaps have lied, who have not been subjected to the things, to the attacks using those medical sort of appliance technology that's been developed to reach someone from so far away. So now I'm not even at my normal location, which is right next door to those criminals. But these guys can reach me all the way from there. I mean, I didn't have to come here to prove it. I was living at 27 Gush's Drive when they were doing it to the people who were living there. There's a man who lives at 27 Gush's Drive who actually got admitted into a hospital. Lately, I don't think he would have told me about it, but all I know is that, excuse me, he was bleeding. And that's a similar attack he had in less than 24 months before that. So these guys are really dangerous. The first time I saw Zubir actually with my family, I kept my head down, kept quiet because I wasn't sure how they knew him. But then, rolling time, I now realize he actually dressed up as a construction worker, made an appointment with them to go and see them about repairing something. But when he got there, he didn't do anything. And they were very confused as to why did he make the appointment with us when he doesn't know what to do. The man dressed up, looked the part, put on the whole Bob the Builder thing. But he didn't do anything. He didn't know anything. Did not even analyze the area that he had said he was going to go and assess or repair. So I remember that they were very confused. I was going to ask them later, but I wasn't going to be too obvious that I know him because I wasn't sure what was going on. Like, why would he then just appear? This criminal apparently has been working with Lynette Verum, a very hateful young lady of me. Before I used to think it was about the relationship that she was just trying to cover up. The relationship she took from me and got into a marriage. But it's not just that. Because apparently, or maybe I don't know if these guys overstepped their boundary and then she just went along with it. Because they've attacked so many of my relationships. Falsified my results. Anyway, back to the whole thing about him turning up at the property. They started having so many problems with that property. I mean, even worse problems. Having tenants can be quite challenging because everyone has different preferences. When they don't own the house and they want to be comfortable, if you start getting interferences from people like Zubir who have experience in making people homeless and jobless, goodness gracious. So they were hacking me and then they started hacking my contacts. So if people who know me have been invited by Zubir and Hannah in any way, or they've been in contact with them or followed them around or set people around against them because their network has grown, People who are so capable of hacking other groups on social media and that WhatsApp. They used to actually actively go into my Facebook. And I just suddenly realized there's another group that's been created. Not authorized by me. They're hackers, they're disrespectful, they don't observe boundaries. But they became so entitled, they're now so obvious that they actually call up people. I keep deviating from that story, the property thing. They had to sell their property because these guys were now pushing lawsuits and whatnot. To be so cruel. So he has that in common with Helen, who we used to live with, a mental health nurse. When she left us from 27 Kushes Drive as a student nurse, or maybe she was qualifying by then, I used to help her with the assignments. Mental health, no, it's really not my thing. I mean, I can understand the assignments, but those assignments are just demotivating, man. But also they practice. These guys are, well, she is from a violent background, so she enjoys violence and that. So, but then we had an issue about the way she left and manipulating for money so that she makes a deposit onto the property she was going to go into when her husband came over. So at the moment, I'm having a struggle with these criminals trying to take my property now. Before, they were just burgling and filming. But now, it appears that they keep coming to tell me that you're in crisis. And I'm not in crisis. Can you see how I love myself? There's no such thing as if you're calling the police too much, or calling the police too much, actually. There's no such thing. I will not stop calling them, no matter how much they tell me that you're calling too much. As long as I'm being attacked, and as long as criminals are confessing and admitting and stalking me to discuss what they want to do. So things like being sectioned, being put away, to be shut up. The mental health teams, from support workers, nurses, doctors, if they cannot, or if they do not want to deal with crime, identifying someone as a modern slavery victim does not mean I'm still intimidated. This is short-circuiting. They need to address me as a normal human being and not be playing mind games, because I've been in these situations with mental health nurses. I learned already from Helen that mental health personnel, they don't talk to people like they're normal people. They don't empathize. They mostly taunt the people who they are around. Taunt in a provoking way. Like they will test your limits. And especially if you're not a violent person, like I'm not a violent person, they can be very, very manipulative. Oh dear. Mustn't pull it from too far because it can be quite painful on my fingers. So, what was the other line of questioning? So my property is at stake because of these criminals who also have claimed that they control my co-owning company of the property. I'm a landlord. I got my little piece of earth in Romford. But goodness gracious, the attacks, when people can use like a studio attack to play drums on a building, create a hole from the top of the roof through the walls. That wasn't the weather. I wish we could say it was a lightning board. I wish the building management could have filmed things like that and then wrote us all letters that it was an act of God. I wish that was the case. Regardless, even if it was the case, it took so long to get that flat repaired. It's possible that when I was communicating since September 2024, to say, please, could you have a look at my building? It's pouring through the doors. They came. I remember some construction workers came after the in-house person had attended from Wild Heart, actually. Wild Heart is the building management. They own the communal grounds and stuff. They attend to communal grounds. By that time they attended, stripped the whole ribbing of my patio doors to remove all the parts that were not working and stuff. And then the in-house people were supposed to be attending to seal the hole up and stop the rains from pouring in. We're having like monsoon rains, strong rains and winds. I don't know the extent to which technology can be used to manipulate weather in a certain region. I don't know if that's possible. But police do have to be equipped. I so agree with the parliamentarians that they really have to be equipped, because it would be better if they had an approach of thinking outside of the box and attending to such criminal attacks. Yesterday I had a chit chat with an officer. I think sometimes when you talk to people like that, even as a key worker, you then have to escalate where someone can be quite harmful to the extent of killing other people. So if someone confesses they're a radicalist, then you have to look into what sort of belief system is that, because you actually already have to know. If you're already in a key worker position, you already have to know. So yesterday I was being asked about guns, pictures of guns that I have shared on a post or something. Actually, maybe the doctor didn't even know. Maybe it was just Tip that asked about this, I don't know. Because when I showed them about the hacking situation, the other one just sort of said, that doesn't say anything. You might have Googled the person. Do you know, to this day, since he started confessing and admitting all that, I'm not interested in Zupi like that. I have not even Googled him. Never. He actually maybe he's the one who put his mail in my post box in October 2024. When I was not staying at the property permanently. I was in and out, just coming to empty the buckets of water that were filling up. So I carried the post without checking it thoroughly, just to go back to where I was staying to check it out. The post was bills, and there was the bills. I had to go back to put it back because it had flat 4 Oak House on it. And those people were so intimidating. I thought it was a trap actually, because these people have been so intimidating. They've been watching me. I've gone to other people's flats to knock and say, your post actually came into my post. Or to just leave it right at their door. Because there were people who were doing postal fraud too. There was a student nurse who had registered herself for an application pack. And the swab tests, she sent them registering onto my address. So if anyone was starting to test me in the block, putting their mail in my mail, or as it happened before, there were some people who came in and shouted, "People, today you need to prove that you own your properties," in 2024. So I had to check things out. So if you had someone had put your mail in my box, mistakenly or not, sometimes I took the extra step to go and give the letters back. Or to just say to them directly, "Look, this was in my post. So here you go." At least that way, even if these criminals got intercepted the post somehow, and then they decided that we're going to test her, see what she does. Is she going to keep it, or is she going to... I'm not going to be part of postal fraud. I will make sure that post goes to the person, because I'm not going to be framed for criminal activities just because these people have been saying that I'm part of their household. I'm not part of their household. I'm not anything to them. I think they got away with pushing that rhetoric of, oh, she's our childminder, or she's our child. Apparently these people were tasting my food. They've been burgling me, right? So there's the other part of the use of technology to be able to capture smells and you're not even present. To be able to blow cold air into another property. I mean, there's a day when I had been spraying, like scented water. So if I cook, sometimes I have to take the smell out. And then I was spraying scented water around. And then I think I just opened the door, my front door, and decided, okay, let me just check. There may have been some activities or some movement in the corridor. Because those people lurk in the corridors a lot. Or maybe I was expecting my partner. I don't know, but I opened the door. There's something had prompted me to open the door. And then instead I saw flies. I just sprayed the water into the air. The water pushed back at me. There was no one in front of my door, but the water sprayed back on me. Thank goodness it was scented water. As if someone was actually there and just sprayed the water back. So if there's a capability of using technology to fan cold air back, or to just project cold air into the property, because when I was unwell, I called an ambulance, and then they disclosed that the temperatures in your flat, they are too low. This is not a good situation. So in the end, that's why I moved out. I thought, okay, this is not okay then. I'm not in a healthy position with what's going on. I'd been emptying the waters, and just waiting around because I needed these guys to attend, the co-owning company, to attend and fix the place. I didn't think it would take long at all. They just stopped responding altogether after 2 people had attended. I don't know if they actually reported something, but I think something startled them when they were on the patio. I actually laughed that, oh my gosh, these people had given themselves away because they made the guy jump. They did something to the person. But I think what may have happened may have been the whole criminal sexual stimulation thing. And for men, I don't think they'll find it easy to report that. Men would probably rather support a woman who's going through it to talk about it. But when that happened, unfortunately, these guys, once they said they can scan dead bodies onto their apps, it's possible that they're developing their capabilities so fast that if they manage to actually pinpoint at him and do something to him. And I do apologize to that gentleman if you've seen the video, because if that was the case, you may have thought it was insensitive of me to laugh, but I was actually laughing that those guys gave themselves up, because whatever happened, and he was a bit jumpy about being out there on the patio for some reason. But then these criminals do actually claim that they already have their hands in that company, that you can't get evidence from them. They've already got something from, I don't know, they've got their fingers in there. Hannah actually said she owns that company, so it's pointless asking them for information for what. It's possible they've used, I don't know, maybe the owner's name. I don't really know, but she also claims that she controls the cameras around the building, so there's no way I'll ever get evidence of what they're doing. But what I know now, and the confessions, the co-owning company actually wrote to me and said they could supply me with evidence or the footage, CCTV footage of 28 days. CCTV laws actually say something else. Time will tell. Maybe they need the actual police to do it. When you speak to the police say, "Oh, request the footage." And they say, "Let the police come and request it." Merry-go-round. That's why I don't have CCTV footage. So, oh dear, start from the bottom. I could use the water, but then the spout is just too strong. The current is too strong. It's not like, when you're in the comfort of your own home. All right, so my property is now in question. These people can use, I think they've probably developed on their architect's sort of technology software, because where I accommodated a student who was actually studying that and doing his project, I think he actually used my property to scan it, to scan it and film it. Because a few times I think he's returned, and I haven't probably networked in the building. He's probably been there with other people, or networked so that they can be calling in and be filming things in my flat. I remember once, after work, not only once actually, a few times after work, I'd just not come home straight. Say maybe I've just gone out or gone through a different way. Then by the time that I decide to do shopping or whatever and come back, sometimes it's not even that. I've just decided to delay. I once came home randomly around between 2-3 a.m. and I could hear people speaking in my flat. I was going to work at the time. And I was hearing the young men who accommodated Royce Mtambio. As if they'd broken into my property. And they were talking in there. And they were whispering. As much as I would like to protect Royce Mtambio, now, remembering that, it's very tricky. There was a lot of whispering. You just got married, but you haven't given up the co-criminal or defended yourself as being used or manipulated into retrieving or getting access to you in that sort of way. You haven't given up Lynette Ferramo. I know you recently got married. You actually said in the audience the other day that I can't believe she was never going to come back to me on our plans to get married together. Little did you know, that weekend we were getting married, but obviously it was upsetting to you. Maybe you would have given me more information along the way and helped me not get into this situation as far as it's gone. And the question of my faith, it's not, I don't know, maybe it is a thing, because last night, apparently Lynette Ferramo disclosed that she had been trying to fight a few families who we used to go to church with. Dagenham was quite a financial contributor as a group to the development of Forward in Faith since the early 2000s. So apparently Lynette was heard saying she had already worked on the families in Dagenham, and my family was the one she was finding the hardest to deal with. And so that's why my family has been attacked so much and been used by this criminal gang to the extent of threatening their lives. I mean, being hospitalized twice for bleeding. for the father. My mother was raped. My sister, well, she's got her own cards dealt. But maybe things are not working out for her marriage. Knock on wood and all that. Can knock on wood, yeah. So it's just that I found blood on the walls in this room that I'm in and on the toilet, so it's not very easy to touch walls here or the doors. So I'm trying not to get involved too much with other things because this situation has totally played into the plan of these criminals. With access as a security guard, they already managed to scan this building. They've been already noise polluting in this area. And with Hannah having negotiated with someone in the mental health team of when she can be taken in, she decided to plan it around me being taken in. So for months, they've not been sleeping in that flat, trying to film me, trying to catch me out and present information to the mental health team to come and get me. I've been working overnight for the past few weeks on my apps. Sometimes that's when I cook and then I eat. I do my meal preps. Then sometimes it's snacks, but this time I didn't spend money on the snacks. Just decided to keep on cooking what I have. It's not even that noisy. But where someone then attacks you, not in a way that people don't know, because people actually talk about the attacks. Even in the, I don't know if it's because the community, the live audience were talking about it first. Because in the community now, they also talk about it. I was at 3 mobile ones. And it was quite upsetting for me because in as much as people have tried it before to just, like a customer just randomly said, oh, this girl is about to be voyeurized. They call that voyeurizing when it's like a sexual assault attack. I don't know how they know. I don't know how people have been connected. Just a random person. I don't even know them. But they knew I was about to be harassed in my private area. It's not the first time. It happens a lot. People will be talking about it. And most men will just, if they're walking towards me, they start to walk in a different direction with their heads bowed. Even children will talk about it. I was in the brewery for a few weeks overnight, connecting to the internet services. There was a woman who was actually assaulted like that, and the child screamed, "Oh, he's attacking my mother." The woman was wearing brown pants. The little child had a pink hoodie. Apparently, it's the use of technology somehow that people are picking this stuff up. I really have no idea. But I so agree that the police have to be equipped. The emergency services app was cloned onto my phone or downloaded onto my phone. I didn't do it. So I noticed that it's embedded in there somewhere. Sometimes I just end up seeing it there. And it turns out, because these guys stole my phone before and they cloned it, and they have their gadgets already connected to my phone. So when my phone starts flipping, sometimes they actually say it, that she's trying to fight a hacker, and they laugh about it. Or they get angry. That talk to me nicely, then I'll give you access to your phone. They can trigger notifications of like storage issues. When there are no storage issues, when I've already offloaded some apps. Just play with your phone. I mean, there's coding courses online. And when you have children, even less than 10 years old, they're learning IT, things like that, clever things like that. But they're also online courses, eh? But in school, it probably will be free, even in state school, I'm sure. So this information is very, very out there. Children have access to it. So for police, I'm totally in support of the reform of updating them on how to use technology to improve their technologies to deal with criminals like that. Because imagine if someone is learning how to use or develop intellectual information like that from a very young age. Or if someone has a child who's more than capable of doing that, and then they just learn a few things about developing the technology or applying it in a harmful way. Because people can be manipulative, pretend that they're learning something, ask a few questions. And yeah, if you're in a certain position and someone comes and asks you, oh, teach me this, teach me that, yeah, you can just teach them, isn't it? But with criminal minds like Zubia and Hannah, you have to be so careful. Hannah, on the day that she had lied to me that she and her husband owned the flat that they're living in, and then she couldn't answer questions about how they went about the interest rates. I just don't know. There's something fishy about you from the get-go, from the beginning of the conversation. I just thought, why has she just come out to ambush me? I've been out there in the front. She didn't talk to me, and she had offered me food before, actually. And then as she was going into the flat, when I said no, I politely declined. But she kept on insisting, and then I said to her, tell you what, take the food inside. I'll come and knock when I'm hungry. I also tested you too. But when she was going in, she actually said, if you'd taken it, you would have died. What kind of person does that? I mean, if you're new in the neighborhood or fairly new to your neighbor, you invite your neighbor for tea and coffee and that, you know? That's the normal kind of English way. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. This woman actually said, you would have died. So, unfortunately, even the following year, even after I had given her cake, because it wasn't for her, it was for the little boy, Adam. So when I had given them cake, and then she said, oh, I'm allergic to eggs. And I said, oh, you're in luck. I actually made this cake eggless, but it's actually for Adam because I had already written the name on the box. So, the following year when she decided to play nice and give me £10, having already disclosed that she's a witch and she does rituals and things, I do not take her money home. You cannot just transact with someone like this. Because I don't know when you're just being a normal human being or when you're doing things for rituals. You've already told me that, I used to go to church with someone, but people easily give up on me. And then I just happen to pray a little bit and check. Is this all? Does she want my support? What's she trying to do? And I was told to tread carefully because she didn't want the support. So I had to do my due diligence. Just say a little prayer. And then when I first hit the first sign of resistance, I thought, okay. So I backed off. And I understood she's already chosen which side she's on. She doesn't want anything. She doesn't want empathy. She doesn't want people to help her. Roll on a few years now. Now she's following me to the parish, to St. Edward's Parish. She said when I started going to the Money Road Church, she couldn't go. It was too powerful. But she can get away with a lot if she goes to the St. Edward's Church. So you know what ended up happening? She's already 70, second week. She's 70. Sometimes when you go to churches and community groups, you wonder why they refuse to accommodate you into serving positions quickly. With the whole human trafficking, modern slavery things, and so on and so on, now I understand that, okay, sometimes people are very cautious. Even in the church I used to go to, when I used to talk about outreach and stuff, they were up in arms. But that was a different sort of ballgame at the time, because people were actually quite welcome in the community, in the street around us. They were quite happy to see us inviting them into the church. Like, oh, are you a different church? Yes, we'd love to come for tea and coffee. Those were the locals. But then they eventually accommodated a criminal partner of the self-confessed radicalist, Subir Francis. And it's not a normal relationship. A relationship where she was planted into the flat, and then because the person who planted it there, Lynette, decided that this woman, I can't control her. And in the last few days, we just realized that, oh, the control thing was because she had assessed her capability to kill. And apparently Anna had disclosed that she had killed her family for putting her through experiments in Bulgaria. So she's got experience and knowledge of inflicting modern slavery. No, experience and knowledge of maybe being a victim, but instead of seeking support to deal with that, she's inflicting it. Because what they're doing is a very, very illegal, criminal agenda thing. So that with the filming and stuff, it's not a new crime, but it can be very isolating. When someone is filming you, filming your secret moments, and then people become very, very judgmental in your community, start to talk about you, they get very judgy. You know, the decision I made as a minister to step back from the stage, I think it was very wise, actually, because it can be very confusing for people when you know what you want and you need to pursue it, and yet you've been in a position where you've been ministering. So now I'm still a Christian. I still have my private time I try, actually. That's all I can say now, because I didn't realize my privacy is not privacy anymore. I'm not always conscious of it. And sometimes I just have to get on with my life. And it's not even just my location where I am. Because clearly, like, I spent too long here. Subir's audience arrived. His voice arrived. I was in the meeting with the doctor yesterday, when he then said, yeah, you're a victim of modern slavery for real. He had turned his back and he kind of mumbled it. In doing so, in doing that, at some point, well, they've done something. In scanning my property, scanning me, because the beer one said around 5 a.m. as I was waking up from a very nice sleep. Because they've been trying to mess with my RAM and everything. But thank goodness, I had a sleep. I had very nice sleep. So beer just started shouting, bitch face, now you know we can upload dead bodies onto the app. As if I was already in conversation with him. I was not in conversation with him. They've tried to mess with a lot of things, even my hearing. So the thing is, for me, I think what happened, when these guys were already filming, recording things, Hannah must have started doing that with Lynette, and perhaps had not got to bear in on the whole spectrum of what they were doing. because there was a time when they seemed to be asking each other, what's going on? How come she heard us? I don't know what they were discussing, but I was in my kitchen. And then it sounded like they were right behind that wall. And Zubia said, how come she heard us? Me, I kept quiet. I may have just lifted my head or something when they were talking. So Hannah was already doing something with Lynette. And then they didn't say much else. Hannah was like, I don't know. But she was already doing something. So Zubia was put in that flat to control Hannah. But perhaps at the time wasn't in the full know of what they were doing. Apparently was just told, go into that flat, there's a woman there waiting for you. Now in 2025, Hannah was like, no, you raped me. One night they just started fighting about it, that actually you raped me. A few nights after that, they were making it clear that they were no longer together, even though in that time in the summer, they were disclosing that, yes, they have a sexual swinging thing. One of the other tenants, their co-residents, was saying, I can't believe I'm being used in a sexual swinging situation. So they swapped partners because they were no longer getting along. Zubia had already told Hannah, I will never marry you. You're not the sort of person I would ever marry. So yesterday, someone tried to ask me, after I had already talked about it like this, someone's now trying to ask me, oh, you mean the married couple next door? I just looked at them and thought, I've already told you. You want me to continue chit-chatting or correct you? I just thought, I've already said. Maybe they forgot. I said, no, at some point I still repeated. But no, actually, Leonard Ferrero made sure that Hannah knew they're not in a relationship. She often comes to sleep with Zubia. When she comes to collect her prescriptions from the UK. But yes, well, I think I'm speaking too slow. My hair's coming along pretty well. Now it looks even fuller. Even fuller. Actually, no. I think I added that there can't be any relationship because he's always sleeping with other women in that very flat. And then she thinks she's in control just because maybe she gets to say, get it out of your system. She's not in control. There's no marriage there. If I was her, I'd have been crying foul and saying, actually, I'm back in another modern slavery ring. But I've heard her talking about when she gets arrested, she'd rather opt for the extradition thing option so that she goes and keeps her head down in Bulgaria for a bit. A free flight and all that. But lately, they started disclosing that she'd rather be in a mental health institute, but her bargaining point was get the girl next door in first. What she may not have disclosed to the mental health people that she was negotiating with is that she's been trying to kill me for the last 5 years. And so me being able to lock my doors when I get indoors for some reason has not been good for her. But also she seems to cry wolf a lot because she doesn't like me praying or going to church or having a community. Just having a community, apparently. Perhaps that's how they did a lot of harm to her. But if I had the capabilities, I'd probably be an athlete. can't say join the army because I think she'd be dangerous in the army, even to her colleagues. But if I had the capabilities, I can see how criminal it is actually. Especially if she manages to assimilate into a community where there's children now. Because when she was taking care of Adam, Adam eventually seems to have reported his father for something. Apparently he had found out that Hannah was abusing his son, and they may have beaten each other up there. And then Adam may have, I don't know, he mentioned something to his teachers, and then his father got arrested. Apparently I was blamed for praying because he quickly got released. Unless if that was a fake thing, actually, the quick release thing. Because perhaps he was not at fault, but he felt like dying because he could not help his son. And he was released back into that situation and was feeling powerless. And apparently convinced himself that it's my fault and he's going to be attacking me because he couldn't protect his son. For someone who's been dodging arrest by changing his name when he was making people jobless and homeless in Manchester, apparently they ran away from that area. They not moved away from Manchester, UK altogether. Apparently went to Istanbul and then to America, enrolled in education, but didn't finish, enrolled in an accounting course, like me. But she got lucky, stole my boyfriend and all that, and then, but with criminal intent to then kill him after getting access to his wealth. She's a hacker. So once I didn't have really good communication with Calvin in the early 2020s, we just stopped communicating. Because it didn't seem like I was talking to the same person anymore. Apparently the kidnapping was a decoy to cover up for her rep, her street cred of showing that she's a godly woman, and yet she's a criminal. So the people in the churches before where she used to go, the local branches, they were suffering, some of them being attacked by this young girl and not knowing. Some people left the UK quite early on, even as the church was growing. I mean, if I got the opportunity, I always wanted to go back to Zimbabwe to live there. But it just hasn't turned that way. Because even when I used to meet people, if they decided that they wanted to come to the United Kingdom instead, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it wasn't what I was expecting. So somehow it would just not work out somehow. So I'm still here in the UK. Unfortunately, the whole kidnapping thing is actually a thing for these criminals. They've done it to Ishe before. And now they did it to my husband. Ishe escaped. I prayed and also found out. So, unfortunately, you cannot persecute someone like me for praying. Because when I pray and meditate, I can decipher the good from the bad. But where I don't have privacy, I'm not standing on a stage to declare anything to anyone. So where I don't have privacy, I've heard the audience sometimes responding to my prayers or try to decode the language I'm speaking, try to explain things to people before I've had time to settle down, meditate on it. If you get things wrong where you are, I haven't come to stand somewhere or to tell people, be careful of this, be careful of that. If I'm talking, if I'm praying, if I'm expressing myself in prayer, if I'm singing in my private space, still my private space, whether you're filming me or not, what you're doing is illegal. If you've joined that audience to ridicule me or whatever, you're still doing something illegal. If I identify who you are and I respond via that flat for Oak House, what you're doing is still illegal. I can still report you to the police for what you say. Because you're tuning into a live audience. You're still attacking me. It's a live streaming audience. There's also hearsay. If I meet someone and they talk about what you talked about, these criminals are giving people away, whether you've been lured or not into that gang, intimidated or not. Because some people may have joined for fun, but somewhere along the way realized that no, this is totally criminal and backed off. If you decide not to back off and you think because you need me to hold you accountable so that you behave correct or so that you give the criminal gang up, these people have used a whole world strategy thing. You're 4 people away from anyone in the world, apparently, as studies have shown. So can you imagine how many people are expecting me to be holding them accountable? Your conscience should hold you accountable. You need to do right all by yourself. I don't have to come and correct you. They've recently told me that the opting in thing is a sign that they're going to try and do something fraudulent. Yes, even checking my mental health thing. It is a fraudulent thing because where you identify that there's criminal activities and you still want to pursue, to intimidate me, to shut me up, instead of escalating, even if you're not a healthcare professional. Information about escalating radicalism is free online. You can be held accountable. Cooperating with criminals can be a version of justice. Participation in that audience to intimidate me can also be badgering a witness. I am a witness of many criminal admissions. Whether you distract the officer who is coming to arrest or not, whether you're just in the audience trying to, cheer them on, cheerleaders in the audience, and you think it's harmless, it's harmful. You're being an accomplice. You have to be very, very careful. You can't just tune in and say, I'm being paid, so there's nothing I can do. You can't give reasons like these criminals and get away with it. These guys, I've heard them say to the audience that this is not a game. I've heard them warn people around. Sometimes to even tell them, don't opt in because I will destroy you. They warn their supporters. They remind people who sound like they're supporting them. So in the last few days, I've heard the audience sometimes briefly, they might play a trick on the criminals and actually give them up or say, I've seen this. No, these guys are not doing the right thing. No, I can't be a part of this. I can't be a part of it. Unfortunately, if you hear the same people hours later or half an hour later, lurking, sticking around when you already have deciphered that you should have given them up, what's your intention of not giving them up? Because in that very audience, some people have actually been burnt crisp apparently, or been killed when they try to warn each other. There's no formula to this criminal activity. You don't just group up and say, no, we can't say this, we can't stand up to these people. When these people are giving themselves up all the time and have actually threatened that they're going to be attacking people who don't give them up because you have known what they're doing. Apparently their mantra is, it's only a matter of time. When they start getting restless about who knows what, they start killing people. People start disappearing. God forbid I start seeing more Zimbabweans in black and white pictures. And then those people indicate, those criminals indicate that they were part of something. Especially where people have potential of contributing well to the Zimbabwean communities, home and abroad. Because that's really a key factor. And unfortunately, people who are coming into the UK seem to then be told stories about how people have been fraudulent and were not caught. And it seems to be quite a key thing that before people decide to do the right thing, they're looking at, okay, what can I do what's called fraudulent? Maybe a little white lie that, oh, actually, I communicated with you on this day when you never communicated. You have no idea how harmful that can be, especially to someone like me. So yes, I'm standing up for myself. Where I've been questioned about guns, seriously, that's not even an arrestable offense. With the Mental Health Act, apparently, you're allowed to think, you're allowed to talk, actually. It's a human right. If I then act on acquiring a gun and that, and I get a license, I am still not doing anything harmful to anyone. But should you find that I've lodged an unprovoked attack, say on a school or something, that, yes, is dangerous. But even the very fact that someone might gift me a gun and I get a license, you cannot be prosecuting me. So you cannot have a conversation with me briefly about my capability and then just decide that you're going to medicate me when they're actually police people looking into criminals. That's not possible. I know there's an idea from Grey's Anatomy where they had to help a doctor. I don't really know the situation. It was just a clip that I saw on my YouTube. And these criminals get ideas from hacking me, from watching what I'm watching, on how to treat me. So they've pushed for this whole asyluming situation so that they can kill me in these situations. Their main key attempt thing is to get me in an aggressive situation where they want someone to kill me. But that's now Hannah's bargaining point of coming into the mental health institute. And trust me, she can move fast. She can move very fast. I don't know how you didn't stop her. But now with technology, you won't even see that she's there. You won't even see that she's there. So the officer who attended yesterday, I just remembered him. But only when I was leaving, I was trying to think. He had a bigger beard. It was not tidied up like the last 2 times he's visited. But when I saw the blue car out, the penny dropped, I was like, this guy knows. Yes, yes, hello.
You okay?
I'm okay.
So what's the name?
Caroline.
Caroline. Okay, can I take your vitals?
Oh, sure.
Do you want to test it for me, please?
What's your name?
My name is Mama. Caroline.
I'm actually got my vitals app. I could have just
You want to receipt?
given you just a second. Let me get my arm out. Otherwise, you get a wrong reading. Oh, you're city. How's it going? How's it going at the stadium?
Good, very well.
Let's see.
Sorry, can I just slightly? Thank you. Thank you.
you just studying mental health direct or are you doing general too?
No, mental health.
I see. What year are you?
Final year.
Dissertations on that.
Pardon?
Are you doing a dissertation?
Yeah.
What's your project on?
Psychosis.
Is it? So this is a psychosis ward? Oh.
You can choose whatever you like. But that's my very first watch.
Let me tell you.
But it's not even on adults, it's on children.
Oh. How was that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's still going ongoing. But for me, it's okay. I like it because for me to be able to something like that.
Is there a lot of screaming? With the kids?
Oh, and put it down, put it down. Thank you. It's just for your saturation.
So that is there a lot of screaming with the kids?
For me, it's okay because it makes me understand how to be able to help people, especially the young ones when they don't have voices.
Oh, that's giving me a false reading.
No?
Yeah, and pulses. 85. That one is in 91.
This is saturation.
Yeah, it is saturation, 98.
Yes.
And that's 85. Oh, now it's 89.
It keeps changing, and the way you keep talking,
Yeah.
that's
But
it.
it was 85 for a long time.
You can see it's still changing.
Mm.
I think the saturation has also increased. Do you see? When you
Well,
keep talking, I always tell
saturation
people
is-
not to talk.
Saturation is alright.
I always tell people don't talk.
Or is it?
Yeah, it's just 2 minutes and it will be fine. That's all. Thank you.
For that?
Do you want to go for breakfast?
Oh, is surgery ready?
Yes.
I think you said the highest one is probably that you start with doing the psychosis thing.
Pardon? Thank you.
So then I've just seen a student nurse. And we've just got a first-hand example of how these guys are taught how to taunt people. So I had the SATS probe on my finger. That's a more accurate reading of SATS compared to the blood pressure monitoring one. The blood pressure monitoring can pick up, but then it doesn't really give you a more accurate reading of your pulse. I even told her I'm a nurse. And then she decided, no, I'm going to record the highest pulse instead. So I've just gone with it, and I told her, okay, you can just put it down to you startling me with your whole psychosis talk. I could be a tutor, you know. In fact, yesterday, even though the doctor said yes, we might want to get you back into nursing and accounting. I've got lengthy experiences in training people in the accounting staff, accounting and admin, but even on stage performance, stage presence and that, choirs, teams, internal audits and things. Whatever I've done, I've always trained people. I used to be a mentor actually. I was going to actually take the course to mentor. I hear my students are doing very well actually as qualified nurses. So, as I said earlier, I would prefer to go into like theatre, keep my head down a bit, because from what I've realized with my experience from Helen, I don't know if it's actually a thing or there's something that's an undergrowth that needs to be weeded out from student experiences or what, of like having a taunting thing. At least that one was mild. That one was mild. But when someone becomes qualified and they just don't want to engage in a civil way or to treat you like someone who might be able to think or might be capable of just having your own capacity, it can be very difficult. And if that person is in a position of accessing a database to write things or influence other people to write things about you, where apparently the rumors are that Helen apparently reconnected with Zubair after having been assigned to Flat for Oak House to assist Hannah. And then Hannah said, "What if you know her, you have to sleep with her because this is going to be a problem. We're going to get caught." I guess by then he knew what was going on. So to begin with, when these guys did something to my body and to my flat, it was not known. Is that me? Is that for me? Come in. Come in. Just excuse me a second. Yes, hello.
Do you need any towels, any blankets?
What towels? I freshened up, but I asked for soap last night, but
Breakfast time?
Oh, excuse me, guys. I had asked for my umbrella yesterday. I think it was found, but I just wasn't in the property, right? Okay. At least I've been updated directly. Because the nurse yesterday, yeah, she did kind of announce, but to everybody else. And I just had an emotional moment. I was just texting someone. I just thought, you know what, it's a bit unnecessary to go and approach her about it when she's just told everybody else instead of me directly. At least breakfast time. I actually got up early. It was just before, was it 6? Or 7? No, 6:54. Oh, okay. It was 6:54. To start getting ready because with any luck, I will be able to get my stuff sorted. And maybe I won't be short-circuited again because the people who were asking me if I'm a student, I said I can help tutor students. So they were asking me, can you help in this sort of fields and that, that. It's like a training situation. Or maybe assignments. I don't think I want to register fully fledged into a PGC course at the moment. I'm quite okay with it being a freelancer, exploring quite a few opportunities while I'm waiting for my actual opportunity. I'm meant to be traveling with my husband because he already was coming to take me for a job opportunity. And then they got him kidnapped. Firstly, it was falsely arrested. And then these criminals started getting people to question me about, is it being genuine? How can he be bringing you things while they were hacking? These people, okay, so can you imagine people who are getting upset that you're staying in your flat or that you move at the wrong time while we're filming our holograms, while we're putting images of people, making it seem like there are people in your flat. They're busy filming things like that to get the mental health team convinced that there's something else going on. But goodness gracious. Do you know, the only unfortunate thing is it only takes one person to believe these criminals so that they write something down and start to escalate it. It only takes one person. So unfortunately, what happened with my nurse who actually has my discharge letter? And then my mistake for not realizing that she was in the CC email. She was carbon copied. Maybe she overlooked it too. I don't know. But they've continued to come to see me or wanting to see me. But where I realized actually, this stuff is now criminal. It's not to discuss with mental health. It's not to discuss as if they can do something about it. I think that was it. We should have just stopped at the, financial concerns. You're on universal credit. Okay. That was it. And I expected a discharge letter. But when I was in here now, that's when I've been discovering we all got the discharge letter. So there's no... And during all this time, the criminals, because they feel so confident that they're getting away with things, they continue to confess things, they continue to admit things while they're attacking. And while they say things like, I'm going to continue to attack her until the police arrest me. How can I keep quiet? If I've ignored them for quite a while I'm doing things, working on my phone, communicating with property stakeholders, for example, even friends, they want to get involved in it. So Bear Francis himself has said, he was talking to his father apparently. He said, I'm just so obsessed. I just want to be involved, especially in causing delay. So yesterday I should have made some serious transactions. Let's say serious for now. It's where I am. It's the cards I've been dealt. Living next door to hackers, criminals, who at any given point have 4 electronic devices connected to my mobile phone. The cards I've been dealt are bitter. But I'm very grateful to God for my experiences in life and how I can still look forward to better. Because they continually do a thing to make sure, to try and fight whatever positivity I have. If I should smile, laugh, sing, if I should nurture myself, protect my mind in any way, watch something that makes me glad, cook. I enjoy cooking. They hate me for that. They were not asleep in their flat, but apparently because the day before yesterday, when they started plotting, when I decided to cook, actually, let's say yesterday early morning, when I decided to cook, they got annoyed because that was part of their reason for trying to get me in here. Let her go and eat the food there. Why does she eat alone? Does that make sense? And then when they hear that I'm talking to someone who's about to come or approach me, they work hard to send people around them to stop them from coming. If I offer someone food in my presence, they've already sent a rhetoric that you must refuse. They've told them that you must refuse. So it's like a catch-22 situation. The criminals intimidate people so much. But I've shared my food with people. They don't want people to find out anything good about me. They don't want people to find out that I'm a normal human being. So that's how they've gotten away with abusing me while I was really feeling intimidated. They were doing some sort of AI experiments on me. And I didn't know. Last year in August, after disclosing that he's a radicalist, Subir also stood out on his patio and he said, "Oh, I forgot, I've been pretending to be innocent." And then as if he was about to go back in, he then jumped again and said, "Oh, I forgot, that woman next door never volunteered." How come the police have not taken note of things like that? They listen to him about, he's not necessarily working with the police. Because there has been an officer who's been tuning in to say, I'm going to arrest you. Dear Samsons, be careful of Delilahs. Once they chop your hair, it's going to take a long time to grow it back. Okay. If you Google it, you understand where that's coming from. Let's see. That's been a lengthy one. Oh, got a few likes. Like, share, subscribe, and all that. My hair looks much fuller now. It was starting to look a bit knotted and like Jamaican dreadlock. I did like it actually. This hasn't turned out too badly actually. I can just spruce it up with some product, make it a bit shiny, but it is quite okay. It's doing the thing it does. And my husband is bringing me a phone. I dropped this one and I couldn't even send it off for repair or just get a new one. I was still within 28 days. Could have just got a new one from the provider. But that's what Zubia works. They refuse to give it to me. The Argos and Sainsbury's. They just refuse to exchange the phone. So even though I've got insurance through them, with the documents and everything, they just said, no, we can't do it. So I had to contact the insurance company. They said, okay, post it to us. A few months later, I go back there. And you know what? When I go back there, it's not even it's not even like planned, let me go and address that guy. I don't do that. But through this live audience thing, what they did the other time, they said, no, I'm not even that hungry. I might just make an appearance at that breakfast table. They said, no, so Beer was tuning in one day when I was going about my business and saying I should go to the Sainsbury's so that he actually gets arrested. Apparently he's been off work for quite a bit. I don't like being told what to do by criminals, especially from that noise pollution. And I think in a way, it's really affecting me because no one wants to be told what to do by those people. People tend to resist. So whether they're influencing them, and that's actually a thing that they do, they start to go ahead and tell them what to do, especially when it's positive, so that the people choose very differently. And it is affecting me. So whether it's someone has overlooked something, and then you ask their colleague, oh, could you please look at this? And then the next person just says exactly the same thing. Oh, no, that person told you this. So yeah, it's still the same thing. As if you were trying to catch someone out on a lie. Sometimes you're human beings, you make a mistake. Why should the whole office then get into trouble? Just because you haven't helped your colleague or something. It's not about going in to fish out what's happening just because of what these people have done to expose or to be filming and recording everything on such a criminal level. My life is not about that. My life is about improving situations. Improving situations, not persecuting people. I know that's what the game was created for, persecuting me. But where everyone is now thinking, oh, unless he tells me this, people are using it even for their personal vendettas to check if I'm going to determine what's happening in their lives. And then sometimes people actually get upset because they've either used it to their disadvantage or they didn't like the outcome of their assessment. And then you're going crazy. If you get aggressive, you're going to get into trouble because you're trying to intimidate me. This is not just about getting me into trouble anymore. People are getting into trouble for no reason, just for complying with the game, just for going along with what Hannah always tells people. It's not a game, I'm taking you down with me, she says. And apparently, there are mental health specialists, nurses, who normally tune in there observing. And they say similar things. They've done their investigation. They say similar things to what that officer says. They say, no, they totally got the wrong sort of victim. Because these people, as trained as they are, they know how to tell what sort of people normally get trapped into victim situations like this. It's normally people who are isolated and don't have access to information. So there's someone who's been tuning in, a man who's been tuning in quite often and saying that for this one they got the wrong victim. It's as if like they were just watching TV and just commentating. And then she'll be listening and then reminds the person. It's like she actually gets annoyed by people saying things like that. And then she says, so you think this is a joke? You still think it's a game? My brother, whoever you are, Mr. Zimbabwe, it's not a good idea. I've told the same person before, no, please, could you just log out? There's no need. It sounds like this person is a nurse who is actually quite educated on this situation, can identify that yes, this is not a good situation and actually should escalate. This is very different from watching a movie. Even when I watch movies, I can commentate, I can laugh at difficult situations. But this is not a movie. Because I know it's on screen. People have decided to expose things in a certain way. They'll call it fiction, but sometimes it's based on something they've seen or something they've heard, which was a life situation, but they've decided to present it in an entertaining way. This is not an entertainment thing. I never volunteered. I'm not being paid for this crap. Hannah and Zubir actively have developed on Lynette's idea of ruining my life, of trying to destroy me. Because as a minister, when you're looking into my life like this, to shame me, to spoil my reputation, to kill all my opportunities, to steal all my opportunities, you are actually trying to harm me. Okay, so my hair is all done. Feels a bit heavier around my ears. I am all done. Let's see if I'm still in time for breakfast. I left all my cooked foods. I actually miss my Weetabix hex. Oopsie. I may have done something. They don't have beans here, but oopsie. Oh well. I should have been at home doing this, I guess. Sorry. Okay. Should be the other way around, I think. Should be apologizing to me. Oh, sorry. We shouldn't have accommodated you. Look at what's happened. All right, let's go check out this breakfast situation. I don't feel like going without my camera, so let's go. Just keep it in the pocket. Under different circumstances, waking up to see a place like this would be nice, but not when you are actually in prison. There's a mental health version of prison. High walls. So when I said to my friends last time I was acquitted, oh look, there's so many balls stuck up there. It is being acquitted because the allegations and stuff at the time were talking about my relationships. Oh my days, there are more balls up there. You see? Basketballs, footballs. I don't know if you can see, like, I think this side is more visible. Oh, I can zoom in. I'm not actually playing sport at the moment because it's so cold out here. Well, not here. I mean, I've got a gym in the park. I could be, but I also don't have the time. I always want to. Wow, there's even more balls on the other side. I have, what do you call it? I think the cleaner from complain about me doing my hair here. I think there should be more. Oh yeah, I've been more engrossed in making sure that I can do something else. I've been out networking with managers. So stuff like, they've got another cinema in Romford where they have, they're turning into like a vulnerability sort of situation, a vulnerable, more for the community. So I went there and offered like book reading services and so as I was saying, I don't know if they would be with my bag in here. Thank goodness I didn't bring other things because last time I brought other things. I just got used to it. Couldn't access them. Couldn't figure out why they just would not lock things away. Oh, maybe the hair is stealing out there. Oh look. I'm being recorded. Was that a heater? No, that's not a heater. The speaker's on. Brilliant. I can't tell where the camera is. Apparently that audience was saying that the doctors decided to bring me in here so that they can tell when I'm being attacked, when I move and when I don't move. They did that last time. And I don't know, maybe it will be helpful because of the Parliament actually discussing criminal activities with responding to criminals who are using technology and stuff. Maybe it will be helpful. But I don't think, maybe they refuse to use these criminals' apps to look into things like this and instead wanted to record for themselves. I woke up with a very disgusting moment. I don't know, we'll see.
see your own life is so loud. I see my wife, I don't care. I don't laugh.
What most likely probably happen is I might interact with people, I might not, but I won't be putting the camera in anyone's face. I don't know if someone should ask me to see something on my phone or like a post to talk about my YouTube. But otherwise, I'm not trying to start anything, so we'll try to keep the phone away.
I'm holding this, I'm holding this, I said, keep the tea there. Seven, he's tripping me. I wake up, they all wake up. Okay, I'm good. All these guys can down behind me. You don't see the one that's wake up, you do no children. I finished it there. Make my tea over.
Where are you following? Where are you going to follow?
Always Because white friends don't match DNA. Black and white, so that you can plan it and they can
Sorry.
Or you want a Weetabix? Rachel? Rachel? Rachel?
Choose one, 5 of them will have you. You all just sing the song.
I think we have. Oh, okay.
Hey!
That's
Diana!
Diana!
I've been the 17 years, I was 9 years, I was 2 years. When I was in the airport, was at 10 at the end from here.
You want sugar or you want sugar?
They're making now what I say now, so they're challenging my dad. It was true. I just said, when I wake up, I come down.
Is that yours?
It's my passenger.
Please.
May I have a MacBook cup with the cake?
I've just found a headline that seems to be consistent with what seems to be happening with how Flat 4 Oak House has been luring people from other countries to come and join Universal Credit. Actually, it wouldn't be for joining Universal Credit. I think somehow they've created some sort of company working as if they're an agent. But they're hackers who've been intercepting calls, and I've often found that they were acting as if they were hiring people. Fake jobs for sale to cheat system on migrant visas. So this seems to be quite a common crime. Agents charge up to 20,000 for non-existent skilled roles at genuine firms to full home office. I wonder who else is in that audience. So breakfast is done. Unfortunately, I have to wait. I can't leave yet. So unfortunate. I don't think I should be put at more financial risk. I should have not been admitted at all. Apparently these people act like once the wheels are in motion, they cannot stop at all. It's like driving your car and you can tell that it's gonna drive off the cliff. You've got to step on the brake. You've got to stop it from going off the cliff. Drive slow, change gears, control, stop. So is it a case of there's somewhere in the system where once they start going the wrong way, they can't find the loophole yet for where to stop? Because yesterday, someone actually disclosed that if you say this, I'm going to do this, and then do the exact opposite. And then somewhere along the way, someone said, if you had said what you just said now when you were on your property, wouldn't have brought you in. But while I was on my property, I did ask a question because one of the doctors had actually, she said she was trying to offer something in the community. And so I asked her again, but she went on her phone. And then the officer started telling me, no, you can't speak to her. And then she was looking distressed in the car once I started asking them about what they've experienced in the past with criminals who use technology. At some point, she was visibly distressed. She could not even look at a colleague. Unfortunately, I can't comfort people in this situation because I'm going through it all the time. So, at some point, her colleague who had discussed with me and acknowledged that actually, criminals do quite horrendous things with technology. And yet the same technology can be used for things like eye surgery, which you witnessed 30 years ago. He got distressed too at some point. But the thing is, they get to go back to work, maybe have a chit chat about it, maybe get debriefing support, maybe they take time off work. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, their cameras were on and apparently were picking up everything I was saying. So the unfortunate thing would be to actually, I'm so glad they accompanied me as if I was a really violent criminal, because I got to talk to them and they got to admit that actually, yeah, there's things that you can actually look at. They've been handling criminals like this for quite a while, it turns out, because if someone, I've heard of that story actually, of a criminal who was arrested because they were using laser technology. Maybe it's the same event, maybe it's not. But it seems it's getting quite common. I wonder if drones have been used to get in the way of air traffic, helicopters or police helicopters. I wonder. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I wonder. But it just took him a few minutes of explaining that. And then he started realizing, oh my God, these guys are criminals. And then he quickly exited the vehicle. Perhaps as an investigator, he decided that, okay, let's put her in there since the wheels are in motion for now. But as an investigator, if he actually escalated appropriately as he was discovering and got those criminals arrested, perhaps I'll be out of here much quicker. Oh dear, something's going on out there. I was greeted by some of the people who were in the dining area, but the stairs were unforgettable because I don't look like someone who should be here. And it's not about my glasses. These are prescription glasses, by the way. I think they're quite surprised to see me queuing up for food as a patient, because yesterday they were asking me if I was a staff member. I got that the other time too when they first tried this. I'm in quite a predicament. It's not even funny. I actually realized that many people could go through this situation and not be able to come out and be stuck in the system a very long time. Like they were threatening me yesterday with the whole talk about it could take 28 days, which is not appropriate. I really shouldn't be here to be a whistleblower, because just those few minutes of just standing there in the queue, someone was already pouring out their heart about how long they've been in the system here. No. Knock on wood, they get me out, because I'm not trying to get this place shut down. They may actually be helping other people. But for me, I know that I've been targeted and I'm a very rare situation, a rare case. And it's not going to be funny if this situation is mishandled. Because throughout all these confessions and admissions of the criminals, multiple layers have come out from the situation. Partly their discoveries of me, where they were trying to rubbish me and diminish me for just Leonard Veromu's relationship, which was trying to cover up, which he doesn't even acknowledge, which is clearly still taking advantage of that family, whether they know it or not. The very fact that those criminals are present in that flat says it all. that she still has her hands in the honey pot. So until she and them are arrested, even that family is not safe. It's not a crime to have been organized in getting your ducks in a row, so to speak. No one should ever be persecuted for that. I am being persecuted for that, for trying. And these guys are totally persecuting me for being a Christian. Lynette Ferrero included, even though she was a pastor's child. Because she's a total criminal. I think her mouthpiece, Hannah, when she says she's spiritually violent, is addressing the fact that she hasn't been able to kill me because people who do witchcraft do this thing which scientists call sleep paralysis before they attack someone. Sometimes they can cause you to feel raped, or they can even beat you up while you're in that state. It's a thing. Where you could suddenly wake up feeling all sorts of things because someone has done some sort of witchcraft on you, some sort of, I think let's explain it this way that people may have seen on TV, where people maybe have a doll and they're doing things to you to make you go crazy. I think maybe that's something that's understandable to people. Apparently these guys are pretty good at inviting all sorts of evil around them, doing rituals. I mean, we can talk about this now, okay? It's 2026. There are tarot books on shelves. There are Bibles on shelves. There's all sorts of freedoms, hey? Anyway, I haven't had a video this long since a show I had in, where were we? Bracknell, I think. So this is quite lengthy, so we're gonna try and cut it short. Can't keep it on too long until there's a manager coming soon, I think. God forbid that manager says they're incapable of handling this after having sent off the appeal letter, which I expect should have been done yesterday. I think sometimes when people are in positions of authority, they're not saying the whole truth of what's happening. Yesterday, when the manager had left, that's when I got informed that they sent the information off first. But, yeah, okay. Won't question that. So maybe that's all they could have done at the time. Maybe they haven't told the manager that they actually have that much authority. It happens sometimes. And yet, in my training experience, well, people are people. Maybe she forgot. I'll leave it at that. Let's see what happens today. Apparently, the consultant will be down here at 10, and it's 9:13.